In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition, disinformation, and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
Yeah, getting healthier, trying to start. You heard all the ketonians talk. Kiss my keto, high in fat. Oh yeah, low carb. Check it out, so official. Nothing used that's artificial. Products full of electrolytes. Raise your ketones, get you right. Woo! Everything on the label. Oh yeah, 100%. What's listed is what you get. From the foods to supplements. Healthy mix of all the fats, few carbs. I'ma be real. And the new ketogenic bar. It's a meal that'll get you far. Yeah, kissmyketo.com. Use LLVLC for 20% off. $50 purchase or more on one order. Yeah.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live. And we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. Here's how the fun begins. We start off over on Instagram. So go follow me there at Living Low Carb Man. LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content. Just like Nancy Virginia Beach and Susie Girl, 417 Live, Sassy Frassy, so many people are coming in right now. Thank you guys for being here. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. After 24 hours, poof, it disappears from Instagram. But we do throw all the past episodes up on YouTube. So type in a keyword search Jimmy Rants. You will find the show on YouTube or Google. Finally, we have the best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast over on Apple Podcast as well as Stitcher. JimmyRants.com is the website. Today's Jimmy Rants is really quite disturbing because I found a news story today, you guys, that just about made me angrier more than anything I've seen in a very long time. And you guys know I get upset and angry about things a lot here on Jimmy Rants, which is why I like to rant about those things. But guys, there is this effort to silence alternative viewpoints when it comes to your health. And today's news story is an example of that. And what I want to talk about here today is Amazon. Yes, all of us love our Amazon Prime. Amazon.com has pretty much anything you want to order. But Amazon has made the decision to arbitrarily remove any books with what they describe as health misinformation. So the headline of this story that I'm going to read about, Amazon removes books promoting autism cures and vaccine misinformation. Now, I don't want this to delve into a debate over whether vaccinations are good or bad. That's not really the point of what I'm sharing here today. So I know a lot of your brains will go there, but don't go there. Stick with me because I have something to share about this that has nothing to do with that. So let me read the news article. Amazon is removing books that promotes supposed cures for autism, according to the Associated Press. It's part of an effort by several big tech companies to cut down on the spread of misinformation about vaccines. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say there is no cure for autism spectrum disorder, only medications that can help some function better. Decades of medical research has also consistently shown that there is no link between vaccines and autism. So a spokeswoman for Amazon.com confirmed that the books were no longer going to be available on their website, but did not provide additional information. Last week, fellow tech giant Facebook announced that it would be cracking down on the spread of vaccine misinformation. Facebook will now reduce the rankings of pages and groups that promote medical myths across the board. taking action against verifiable vaccine hoaxes. According to the company, the steps it is taking will make misinformation appear less frequently in news feeds, public and private pages and groups, search predictions, and recommendations. All right, let me pause here. If you're just joining us, we are talking about this incredible information today that Amazon and even Facebook are starting to crack down on what they call health misinformation. Now, it's starting off looking at people that have books about autism and people that have information about vaccine. But guys, what is to stop them from going to cholesterol next? What would stop Amazon from pulling Cholesterol Clarity off of their platform? What would stop them from going to keto after that? So Keto Clarity and all the great keto books that are on there, because it's, quote, misinformation that's being put out there. Who decides what is valid? Who decides what is considered misinformation? This is a dangerous, slippery slope position that Amazon is taking here, to arbitrarily remove books simply because they go against the grain of conventional wisdom. And guys, this is the battle as we move forward in trying to understand our health and how to be healthier ourselves. As we move forward, we're going to see more of this kind of opposition. And you wouldn't think that in the land of the free and the home of the brave and the First Amendment right to free speech and free press, that anything like this could ever possibly happen. But guys, it's happening. And again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about a news story that Amazon has decided to remove any books from their platform that promote autism cures. I've had a lady on my podcast before, Dr. Shauna Young, and she has an autism book that looks at how nutrition can help with that and other things as well. But nutrition is a big part of her work, and they've removed her book. Her book is no longer available for purchase on Amazon.com. So I'm asking the question, if they're able to do this with books about autism not able to be cured, and again, they throw vaccinations in there as well. I don't want to get off on a tangent with that one. That's not really the point here. The point is, if they could do it with this subject, what stops them from going after any books that talk about the alternative viewpoint on cholesterol? Because they could say some of the exact same things about it being very solid medical research has shown there is no such thing as cholesterol being irrelevant in your heart health. We have such robust science, and they'll pull that kind of stuff. And then what about the ketogenic diet? What would stop them from going after those books as being, quote, misinformation, because they go against the grain of the dietary guidelines? See, this is why all of this stuff is so important. It's why I keep it on the forefront on these Jimmy Rants episodes, because if we don't speak up when this kind of blatant squelching of free speech happens, if we don't speak up, they're going to come after keto next. They're going to come after cholesterol information next. And before long, all of this alternative viewpoints that you are freely able to write books about, which I'm in that business, and even Facebook and this news story, they're cracking down on the misinformation. What's to stop them from silencing all of us? And if we don't speak up against this, I'd say nothing. Nothing prevents them from coming after all of us as well. And it may come to the point where we have to have our own platforms for promoting the books, our own platforms for putting information out there that are apart from places like Amazon and Facebook. But don't think this won't happen on Instagram. Don't think this won't happen on Twitter and other formats that are popular that people are using. I'm going to continue reading the article. The myths about autism and vaccinations have been circulating since 1998. when a British doctor named Andrew Wakefield published an article about a possible link between the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine and autism. That study has since been debunked as fraudulent. Wakefield lost his medical license in the midst of all the allegations over professional misconduct. Other scientists have failed to replicate any of his findings. Dozens of studies involving millions of children have found no link between childhood vaccinations and autism. Recent measles outbreaks in at least 18 states highlighted the real-world risks that are posed by this anti-vaccine movement. Almost all of those who got sick had not been vaccinated. They stressed that the vaccine's been scientifically proven over many years to be safe and effective in preventing measles. Some parents still refuse to vaccinate their kids. The outbreaks also revived a bitter old debate over so-called philosophical exemptions to childhood vaccinations, on and on and on. The point isn't about the vaccination, so don't get hung up on that. My point is this: if they can do this because of the subject of autism and curing autism through nutrition and other lifestyle factors, what's to stop them from coming after cholesterol? Because that's a biggie. You take away the cholesterol thing and nobody's not going to do keto. They're worried about cholesterol and heart health. So what's to stop them from coming after that? I just found out this week my name was put on a cholesterol denial list, and I'm amongst a lot of really great people. I'm going to post that on social media real soon. But all of us cholesterol deniers, we all know very well founded of cholesterol is the cause of heart disease. And so we have an alternative viewpoint that goes against what conventional wisdom says is true. And I have a book called Cholesterol Clarity, What the HDL is Wrong with Your Numbers. A lot of us have written about this. We share the science that's out there. What's to stop them from coming after us? What is to stop them from trying to silence that message? And then ketogenic. It's the biggest diet in the world right now. Everybody and their mama's cutting their carbs, moderating their protein, eating more fat as a way to get healthy and lose weight. Everybody's trying it. What would stop them from kind of coming after books and people that spread information about that? Could they silence Jimmy Rants because, oh, well, all of that information that weirdo dude on Jimmy Rants shares about is not founded on any good science, so we're going to have to shut that down because it's, quote, misinformation. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. We are living in a very precarious time in our history. And if we, as good people who have found great success in our health making these changes, if we don't stand up and speak out about this at this time, don't be surprised if someday they knock on your door, proverbially, and say, you can't do that anymore. You can't share about that anymore. It seems so preposterous in the United States of America, and I know we have a lot of international friends that watch Jimmy Rants too, but in the U.S., the last time I checked, the First Amendment gave us the right to free speech. And free speech means you can share information. Even if it goes against the grain, you can share information freely. It's not irresponsible to tell people the benefits that come from cutting the carbs in their diet. It's not irresponsible to tell people that, you know what, heart disease really isn't caused by high cholesterol, high LDL. It's really caused by inflammation that's brought on by the carbs that you eat that raise your triglycerides and your insulin and your blood sugar and all of these things. It's not irresponsible to give people that good information that goes against the grain of what we've always been told. And no, this is not just something that is limited to what we're talking about here today, specifically Amazon and the books. And even in the article they mentioned Facebook cracking down. This is across the board. And we have to stand up and say that's not going to happen. We can't allow that to happen, because the moment we do is the moment they can pretty much do whatever they want and silence us for good, which is why it was so important. I have a million other things I wanted to rant about today, but this one, you guys, as soon as I read this story, I went, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is serious stuff. And if we don't rise up against this sooner than later, then don't be surprised when knock, 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 you can't talk about keto anymore. You can't talk about cholesterol not being a problem in your health anymore. I won't stand for it, which is why we're talking about it here today on Jimmy Rants. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. I know there's going to be a lot of discussion on this one, you guys. Thanks for being here. Lots and lots of comments. Heather says, ugh, this is happening across YouTube, Google, Pinterest. This censorship is scary. And Heather, there's no rhyme or reason to it. That's the thing to me. Who's to say, who puts the judgment call on what is considered misinformation? I think a lot of the stuff that is put out by the vegan plant-based world, I think a lot of the stuff that they talk about in their work is incredible misinformation. But I would never tell anybody that they have to be silenced. I would never encourage censorship of that information. Let people hear that information, okay? And then they hear the information of people like me and you sharing out there about keto, and then let people decide for themselves. That is the American way, the last time I checked. Censorship is never a good idea. It's a slippery slope. The authority on these issues are so far behind in the actual research and science, slippery slope to do the same with nutrition. Exactly, which is why I'm talking about it here today. Mitzi says it's just a matter of time before it gets to keto. Exactly. It's one reason when I saw this news story, guys, bells and whistles went off in my head. I had a million other things I wanted to talk about today, but this one had to take precedence over all of them because it's just too important not to get it out to you sooner than later. Lawsuits are inevitable. Pretty sure this is unconstitutional. Dr. Meaty McBurger, you think? I don't know how an interpretation of the Constitution, which gives you the freedom of speech and press, I don't know how they get away with this. I don't know how Amazon can just carte blanche delete all of these books that they deem have misinformation in them. I don't know how Facebook can silence them and those pages and then push them down in the Google search. I don't know how they get away with that. Doesn't make sense. Your keto-rific journey says you would think the opposite would happen since we're advancing in our knowledge. Well, you would think, but the unfortunate thing is I think a lot of the people that are in charge of, say, Amazon and of Google and Facebook and all of these different entities, they have a lot of power. And I'm wondering behind the scenes, how many of them are influenced by groups like vegans, for example, and they're influenced by that messaging. And does that dictate what they do and the actions that they take? I don't know, but it is something that we need to be aware of as we move forward. RNLVBBS says so many supposedly great research based on studies that are horrid too. So who's making these decisions? And that's the other thing. A lot of the research that is cited against keto, for example, and against cholesterol, for example, they're all generally really bad science, which we've talked about quite a bit here on Jamie Rants lately with that egg study recently that came out. And there's just studies that come out all the time. And they're epidemiological studies that don't really tell you anything about human application. They're not randomized controlled clinical trials, which is the only real science that we should be paying attention to. So guys, if you're just joining us, Amazon has decided to remove any books that promote autism being cured. And I'm asking the question here, and they called it books that have misinformation. I'm asking the question out loud, what would stop them from going after any books that have an alternative viewpoint on other things like cholesterol and like nutrition, like keto books? It's outside the mainstream. It's not the dietary guidelines. And see, this is why having these conversations is so critical. Because if we don't speak up and we don't say that's not right, then what's to stop them from coming after cholesterol, coming after keto? It seems so preposterous, but don't be surprised if it happens. Tel Burkhart says, with all the money they make off the sales of books, Big Pharma and the government lobbyists must be paying them a very large amount of money. Well, and the great thing, or the interesting thing to me, is a lot of those kinds of books, I'm trying to think of the best-selling autism book that kind of goes against the grain of conventional wisdom. There really isn't any book that just soared off the charts in that realm. But that's not really the point here. The point is they're silencing a viewpoint that could possibly be helping some parents that are dealing with an autistic child. And then again, what would stop people from saying the same thing about cholesterol? And then that information would not be available, and yet they still get exposed to all the books about, oh, go vegan and you'll lower your cholesterol. And then same with nutrition. If they come after keto, what would stop them from doing that? And then when they do that, that information could be helping so many people. And what are they left with? Conventional wisdom books? I just think there would be such an uprising. It's an interesting thought experiment. If they took all the keto books, all the cholesterol, alternative viewpoints on cholesterol books, all of those off of Amazon, and on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, if you have keto or low carb or any kind of alternative viewpoint, that they remove it from their platform, what would happen? Think about that. How would we all talk to each other? How would we all get the message out anyway? It's kind of interesting to think about. This is scary to think how the powerful tries to control how we educate ourselves. Bonnie, it is the battle. And I think because keto has not just been popular, I mean, it's caught on strong, you guys. They're scared. They're just scared to death right now that this message is going to basically break up their monopoly that they've had for so long. It makes me quite proud, by the way, that I might have played even a small little bitty part in that. Keto Pammy, this is so terrifying, tells me Big Pharma and others are worried about losing a lot of money. It's obvious they're terrified, and this is just the beginning. Keto will be next. Yeah, I'm predicting it. Shearston says because they don't want to promote free thought and a smart population, keeping people down by suppressing their critical thinking is exactly how you control people. And I shudder to think what's next. Keto and carbs, dude, I'm about done with Amazon. First they took off the ad-free streams. Now they can pull this. Well, I'm sure they're doing a lot of other things that you're not even hearing about. Margaret says, this looks like Big Brother to me. Yeah. It is amazing how it's just so arbitrary. And who makes the decisions? Who decides what's, quote, misinformation and what's not? I bet my homeschooling friends won't like this either. Yeah, Val, I'm sure a lot of the resources that they use could be a part of some of these things that would fall into this trap of misinformation. It's really sad. How do we let them know we don't support this other than just leaving Amazon? Well, it's not just Amazon. I suppose you could vote with your dollars by not spending money on Amazon. They have such a juggernaut right now, and same with Facebook. A lot of people have left Facebook, but they still bring in a lot of money, and they've got a lot of influence on the way people interact with one another, sadly. Heather says the problem is this censorship is being done by private industry and not by the government. It's not unconstitutional. They control their sites. Heather, that's a good point. These are all free enterprise businesses, and they have the right to do business the way they want to do business. But yes, you're right. If the government had stepped in and said that this was not going to happen and they started banning things, then it would be a whole nother story. It still would be interesting to see what's going to happen if this goes to court. Some of these authors of these books, and like I said, Dr. Shauna Young, I had her on the Live and La Vida Low Carb show, and she has a whole book about the autism spectrum and how nutrition plays a powerful role in helping with that condition and helping these kids get get healed, her book's no longer on Amazon. So it would not surprise me if people like her and others that had their books removed file a lawsuit. But I guess at the end of the day, the business Amazon and the business Facebook have a right to allow what they want to allow. But again, I don't see how they get away without any legal ramifications. Tel Burkhart says, with all the science and research going on, who is to say what is misinformation and what is truth? Exactly. It's so arbitrary. And whose information is wrong and right, depending on your perspective. If you're a vegan, you think cholesterol is the enemy. If you're a vegan, you think meat is the devil. If you're a carnivore, you think vegetables are the problem. Who is right and who makes the decisions? That's the challenge of all of this. Which is why I'm not in favor of censoring any of it. If vegans want to spout all the nonsense about eating flesh and all of the sensationalism that they use to describe meat eating, okay, great, go ahead. But don't silence me from sharing my thoughts about why meat is healthy, for example. This is where we're going, guys. This news story that I talked about here today about Amazon arbitrarily removing books with health misinformation, this is the opening salvo in what I think will be a slow frog boiling. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you put a live frog into a pot of water and you turn on the heat slowly and slowly start to rise the heat, it won't recognize that it's boiling before the boiling water hits. And by the time it starts boiling, he's dead. And that's where we're heading. If we don't speak up, we're in the pot now and it's on a low simmer right now. And they're starting to churn up the heat. And if we don't do something right now, don't be surprised if we're all gone. Proverbially, of course. Let's see here. Since moving to Switzerland, Amazon isn't available as readily, so I've been getting quite used to not using it, says Shearston. I'm reading Cholesterol Clarity right now. I love the information. Well, Ashton, enjoy it while it lasts, because they may be pulling that book and others next. There's nothing stopping them from ghosting content that they want to. Everyone should plan for alternate communication platforms on social media, says Shearston. This is the insidious reasonable argument always used to erode free speech, says Grandma does keto, start with something affecting children, and then keep moving further. It's kind of like when I did the rant the other day about the Meatless Mondays in New York City. If they are able to do that and then it becomes a thing, then what would stop them from doing the whole week of meatless? So if we don't speak up when we see clues of major change happening like this and not change for the better, then we should not be surprised when the inevitable happens. Lady Lixel says, this is not acceptable. They're just enforcing opinion. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. We're living in very strange times, says Livin' Liz Healthy. I agree, we sure are. But it doesn't mean we can't come up against it, which is why I do these Jimmy rants, to bring information like this to you so that we can make our voices heard. I have the right to even read lies and false info and then make my own decision about what to believe. Hashtag no censorship. Downtown Vapors, that's my position exactly. I don't want to hear all that vegan propaganda, but by golly, they have the right to do it. I'm more than happy for them to share their nonsense with the whole world and let people see how nonsensical their argument is compared to the science that people like me and others in the keto world share. Go ahead, share all the information. Information doesn't hurt anybody. Do your own research when you hear information. Do your own research to verify the information that you're hearing and then make a logical decision. It's called being an adult. And the last time I checked, that's still the thing you do when you get over 18 years old. You become an adult. You make adult decisions. You do the research. Why is this hard? I don't understand it. This is an infringement on the First Amendment rights, says Ashton. This can snowball quickly. Vaccines, cholesterol, religion, it will go on, says Val. Everyone has the right to listen and choose what's right for them, says Your Keto-rific Journey. The real Laura Beck. Hey, Laura. Recently, they were removing Autism Cure and anti-vaxxer books. Are they removing keto-type books? No. Laura, thank you for being here. Hadn't seen you in a long time. No, this is about the vaccine books and the autism books. That's what this news story is about. But I'm extrapolating it, saying if they can do this to those kinds of books, what would stop them from coming out against, say, alternative viewpoints on cholesterol books? What would stop them from coming after keto books and accounts and shutting those things down? What would stop them? So I'm sounding the alarm that this could happen in the keto world next if this is allowed to stand. There's no rhyme or reason not to good-hearted, honest people playing by the rules of the land, but there is a systematic approach being applied, but it's done by the bad people for bad purposes, says Shearston. The big money companies are so threatened by us, they're doing anything to try to stop us. We need to stand up for our freedom, says Ashton. Amazon is not required to carry any specific product. That's true, Grandma Does Keto. They're not. But I don't think... Well, I suppose as a business, they have the right to carry whatever product they want and not carry whatever product they want. But if they think this is going to silence the message, I don't think they've thought that through. Now, will they be able to use the Amazon platform, which is very powerful for getting a message out, and to be able to have that information at people's disposal? Yeah, they've crippled the message a bit. But will it not get out at all? There's too many other ways that information can get out. What would stop an autism cure book being written and then just posted on a website with a link to directly buy from the author? This won't shut it up. It'll slow it down for sure, but I don't think it will completely silence it. There must be a new autism drug coming out, says Argo Pottery. Maybe. Big Food and Pharma own stock in Amazon. It makes me wonder, says Keto and Carbs Dude. Nancy, Virginia Beach, I don't agree with what Amazon is doing, but since they are a company, they probably have the right to control what they sell. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Heather says Jenny McCarthy's book about her son with autism is the most popular on the subject that comes to mind. Yeah, she does have one. Is she a denier, though? I wonder if she does a lot of conventional wisdom with it. But yeah, you're right. You're probably right, Jenny McCarthy. We were keto when keto wasn't cool. Yes, we were, Mitzi. Absolutely, we're going to win this one because we're right, says Sam. Angela says, could have used you yesterday. I got my cholesterol checked, got the speech from my doctor about my results. He was worried. I was not. And see, if you didn't have access to a book like Cholesterol Clarity, mine's not the only one. There's other good books out there. But if you didn't have that information and you go to your doctor and he prescribes you a statin as they always do, you wouldn't know that that's probably not necessarily ideal. You would have no idea if you didn't have access to this. Probably going to kill off info on CBD as well. Olga, you say that's probably a good next target because it's very controversial right now, CBD oil. And I've got about 4 bottles at home I've been using pretty much on a daily basis. Not surprised if that happens, that's for sure. Was one of your books removed? No, Bacon Experiment. Thanks for being here, buddy. No, one of my books was not. What I'm talking about is Amazon is removing books that talk about autism being cured and vaccinations. And what I'm saying is if they're able to arbitrarily remove books like that, and Facebook's doing the same thing, shutting down pages that have the, quote, misinformation about those things, what would stop them from coming after cholesterol deniers next? What would stop them from coming after keto book authors next? So it's kind of a intellectual exercise here of, I wonder what's next. And I hope it's not. I hope it doesn't come to that, but I'm afraid we are going to be challenged very soon. I think we need a class action lawsuit. Not sure if the ACLU would get involved in this kind of thing, says Heather. I don't know. Low carbing family, the truth is relative and subjective. Yeah. And whose truth? Like I said, if you're a vegan, you think meat is the grand enemy in all of health. If you're carnivore, you think plants are the grand enemy in all of health. So who's right? Whose truth is right? Holly Jane says, as soon as you start censoring people, then you're open to be censored yourself. Yeah. That's why I'm speaking up now, guys. It hasn't come to cholesterol. It hasn't come to keto or any other controversial subject in the nutritional health realm yet. But it could be. We could be next. Alberto says, Silicon Valley full of young people, the easiest way to be to manipulate by the government. JC says we have to show how patients get better with their obesity, diabetes, and fatty liver, life changing. And see, that's the thing, JC, and thank you for that. I don't know how they could deny that some people have good results with some of these alternative viewpoints. And they've removed these books about autism and cures. But what do they do with those kids that have seen incredible improvements in their autism because of some of the things that are shared in those books? What do they do with someone who's improved their cardiovascular risk because they learn things in reading books like Cholesterol Clarity? What do they do with all the people that have seen dramatic improvements in their health from going on a ketogenic diet after reading Keto Clarity and other books that are out there? What do they do? Are we all irrelevant? Are we all not evidence that it could be something of veracity that would have sound, solid science that showed that it worked in those people? This is the slippery slope. That's why I'm talking about it here today. Alberto says information hurts ignorant people and government protects them, but being ignorant is a choice and not a disease. That's the thing, Alberto. You hear information, and I hope those of you that watch these Jimmy rants, if I share something that you're like, I don't know about that, go look it up. Go research it. Don't listen to people and think, oh, that's the be all end all. I guess I'll just inherently believe it. No, listen. This is the way it's supposed to work, you guys. You hear information and then you hear an alternative viewpoint on that same information. Then you kind of think about, okay, which one kind of makes sense, dig a little deeper, and then you come to the conclusion about what you believe on any given subject. That's what high functioning adults of society do. You don't just believe like a lemming whatever's being told to you. So the name of the article, Shearston wants to know, Amazon removes books promoting autism cures and vaccine misinformation. So this was reported in the Associated Press. So that's the name of the article if you want to go look it up. Let's see here. People just need to let people make their own decisions and mistakes. Exactly, R.O. Blackbean. Let's see here. They don't really want us to get better, says Olga. Better doesn't equal profits. Always follow the money. It's sad. It's sad that it has to come down to that. To me, Amazon would make more money if they allowed all viewpoints on both sides of issues and then let people buy both of the books to learn more. Keto by George. Wow, information police. Exactly. Amazon can just add a disclaimer to these materials if they're afraid of liability, says Life in Pix 50. That's true. I've seen that with some TED Talks. I remember my friend Dr. Terry Walls talked about curing her MS through nutrition. She did kind of a ketogenic paleo, and it helped her get up out of a chair. She was in a wheelchair for a very long time. And then she started eating nutrient-dense ketogenic paleo-style diet with her Walls protocol. And she gave this very famous TEDx talk. If you go on YouTube and you look up Terry Walls's talk, they have a huge banner all across the screen saying, "We do not endorse this. This is against all conventional wisdom, and we're not advising that." That's what they do. So you're right, Life and Pix. I think that would be a great compromise to, okay, keep it up, but know that this runs counter to what conventional wisdom says. Which, to me, if I saw that on Amazon, I'd be like, those are the books I want to read. It would almost bring more attention to them. Oh, what's in here that they don't want us to know? So go ahead and flag all the cholesterol denial books, all the keto books like that, because that'll help everybody identify what the good ones are. Keto in our household has helped with type 2 diabetes, MS, and fibromyalgia, says your keto-rific journey. Yeah, it's helped a lot. So guys, the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants is Amazon and Facebook and all these entities are starting to take arbitrary measures to start removing any books and information that have health misinformation, according to them, in them. And yes, while this story is specifically about autism and about vaccinations, what's to stop them from coming after other so-called controversial subjects like cholesterol, like keto? Be vigilant, you guys. Be aware that this is happening, and don't be surprised if that day comes when suddenly your Facebook page has been taken down. Your Instagram username has taken down. I can't do these Jimmy Rants anymore because they make the decision that this is way too controversial and full of misinformation for you to be getting this information anymore. Don't be surprised if it happens. It could. Not saying it will, but it could. And we need to speak up and speak out about this sooner than later so people will know before it happens. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, engage in the content live, just like all of these people did here today on Jimmy Rants on Instagram. That's where we start. Instagram Live. I'm Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content. And then you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. So thank you if you're watching this on replay on Instagram. But it's only up for 24 hours on Instagram. After 24 hours, poof, it does disappear. But we have all the past episodes up on YouTube. Guys, share this YouTube video far and wide so people know what's going on. Type in a keyword search Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Finally, we have the best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast over on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. JimmyRants.com is the link where you can find out about all the ways you can listen to this show. Guys, I have so much stuff to talk about. I mean, it hasn't ended. I have so many things I want to rant about and not enough time to rant. But I will be back a little bit later on with another Jimmy Rant. So until next time, we'll see you then.